Good afternoon. My name is Nima Ruhi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blooming Health. Today, I want to talk to you about solutions to improve older adults' engagement with community-based organizations. Before I start my presentation, I want to thank Aging 2.0 organization for having us and giving us the opportunity to present today. My presentation today is going to be focused on two main topics. We'll talk about the importance and need for, as well as the tools and methods for improving older adults' engagement with community-based organizations. You can basically, throughout my presentation, replace community-based organizations with any type of caregiving organization for older adults. The focus is on the community-based organizations because there's some case study information that I would like to share with you today that I think would be interesting to you. We all know that one of the main goals of healthy aging and the services around healthy aging is to provide independence to the older adults to be able to live in place in their comfort of their home, their community, and to prevent from them going to nursing home facilities, which we all know reduces their quality of life as well as increases the cost of caregiving. Knowing that, I'd like to look at the caregiving organizations for older adults in the context of the hierarchy of the needs. Each of these organizations provide to certain types of day-to-day needs for older adults. Depending on the trajectory of aging and health and the situation of a given older adult, the needs for that given older adult could be different. But the key is really having access to these types of services to be able to get the support needed on a day-to-day basis. These supports could be around basic stuff like food security, like housing, transportation. It could be around older adults' engagement with the community, volunteering with the community, or their intergenerational connection and legacy. Whatever that is, the access is the key word here to be able to get the service they need and be able to live independently. We all know this pandemic imposed upon all of us, especially on the older adults, significant level of social isolation. A recent study by AARP shows that more than half of people in the age of 50 years old or older felt social isolation independent of their gender during the past year. This is very critical, knowing what the downstream implications of social isolation and disconnectedness from the community is, especially for older adults to get their day-to-day needs met. That's why the topic around the need for a stronger connectivity came to the surface, especially during this pandemic. The pandemic highlighted the lack of a reliable system that is not so fragile to be able to connect with older adults and let the older adults to connect with the world around them and be able to get the support they need. This was one of the key questions during the pandemic for a lot of older adults, including people probably in your family or friends. They're looking for resources to get their groceries, their food security. They couldn't really go to a store, so as a result, how can they get their food security addressed? They might have needed some health checkups. How can they get their safe transportation to go to a healthcare facility during the pandemic? And other types of needs. This also showed how problematic the existing infrastructures and platforms are for the caregiving organizations to be able to connect with older adults and be able to provide the services and supports to them. Finding out who needs what type of support and when was one of the key questions for a majority of community-based organizations, home care organizations, meal delivery services for older adults throughout the pandemic. because they had to rely on unscalable and fragile infrastructures that were so resource intensive to be able to connect with hundreds and thousands of older adults that they were serving. So how can we improve this connection and the engagement between the older adults and the community-based organizations? That's the key question I'm trying to address today for you. We have investigated this problem a lot in the past 2 years, starting prior to the pandemic. And we have developed a platform using technologies that work both for the caregiving bodies, the organizations, as well as the older adults themselves. Basically, this platform puts older adults just one click away from these caregiving organizations, no matter what their circumstances are, what channels they prefer for communication, whether it's text message, phone calls, emails, or what language they speak, removing technology literacy, technology access, and language as barriers for older adults to be able to engage with their community-based organizations. Through our platform, community-based organizations could, in a scalable way, reach out to their older adults, send program reminders about the services they were providing in a personalized ways for a given older adult. They could send broadcasts about the weather condition that is coming up, meal delivery. They could do routine health and wellness check-ins on the older adults and see if they need any support. They could run surveys on the older adults and see what type of programs or services they need to establish, especially as the world was changing the beginning, middle, and the end of the pandemic. And they could also gamify the interaction of the older adults with their organizations. Through this process, these organizations could increase their engagement with older adults in a healthy way and improve their programs for the older adults. And the older adults could get the right care they needed and also had improved health and well-being as a result of getting those cares. I'd like to talk about a specific case study here today to give you a little bit more context about what we're talking about, this connection between older adults and the community-based organizations. We partnered from the early stages of the pandemic with an organization in New York City called Union Settlement. Union Settlement is a settlement facility in East Harlem that have been serving the community since 1895. They've got around 5 senior centers, 1 naturally occurring retirement facility, and they serve around 1,400 older adults, whether they're homebound or are able to go to their facilities. And they deliver culturally sensitive services to the older adults in this community. And there's a pretty diverse population here, English-speaking, Spanish-speaking, Chinese-speaking older adults. Obviously, like a lot of other organizations, they had to pivot to virtual care and services throughout the pandemic. And they started partnering with us at around September of last year, October of last year. And that's when we started helping them in the remote engagement with our older adults. I'll go through a couple of different anecdotal examples and data points to give you a little bit better picture here. So the first one is around program engagement. We started sending out program reminders to the older adults in the community for Union Settlement about the services and the programs they were providing on a day-to-day basis. These reminders would go out 24 hours in advance of a given program. And throughout the last year, we have seen that older adults that were receiving the reminders had 3x more engagement with the events. They were attending 3 times more events on a monthly average basis compared to those older adults that were not receiving messages. We also did some surveys on the older adults to track their needs and preferences on the services they're receiving from Union Settlement, as well as specifically this remote engagement platform. 85% of older adults were actually giving us 5-star for this remote engagement platform. Not only that, they were also talking to other older adults in the community about this remote engagement service they were receiving from Union Settlement throughout the pandemic. We actually talked to a handful of these older adults one-on-one to learn more about how remote engagement is changing their behavior, their daily lives. They actually told us that when they are receiving these reminders, it helps them to plan their days properly around those reminders, around those events that they're interested in, to be able to engage with their community, with their friends, or get the service they need on a day-to-day basis. I'll play just a sound of one of the older adults that we actually had an opportunity to talk to.
Like the reminders, because they, they indicate when it's on, and everything is right there. So if I want, like they give you a day prior.
Sure.
Like if they're gonna have an event Thursday, they'll send it what to keep you abreast. I'll say to myself, oh, I know this class is gonna start, but then when I look at my text, and then I'm like, so it's really helpful. Oh, it's so good because I like when they text the information, the link is right there.
Yeah.
All I can do is click on the link. That's so convenient. I love that.
I see. Okay.
But other than that, I think it's wonderful. I love the trivia game.
Next, I would like to present to you some reflections from Luz Lara, the Director of Senior Services at Union Settlement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luz Lara, and I'm the Director of Senior Services here at Union Settlement, located in East Harlem. Of course, the pandemic has been a great challenge for everyone in the city, but specifically our older adults. So the biggest challenge that we faced at the beginning of the pandemic was, how are we going to get services to our seniors? How are we going to make sure that our seniors are staying connected to us and to one another? And that's when we decided to partner with Blooming Health, which since the beginning or early on in the pandemic, they were able to help us, get out text message reminders for our seniors, not only about activities so that they can remain engaged, but also about this kind of services that we were providing. So when we did holiday meals during Christmas and Thanksgiving, we were able to let our seniors know, hey, yes, the senior centers are still closed, but you are more than welcome to stop by and grab a special meal for the holiday. Blooming Health has also not only been able to send out text message reminders, but has been able to help us send out weather emergency alerts. So during the winter time, whenever there's a snowstorm coming, during the summer, when there were the many heat waves that we had this year and last year. So they were able to help us in that sense. With Blooming Health's help, we were able to collect data and track, hey, is this really helpful? Is sending out the text message reminders helpful for our seniors? And we realized that yes, it was. Attendance was 3 times higher for those seniors that were connected with us through Blooming Health than for those that opted to not join the text message reminder service. And Blooming Health actually took a step further and decided to not only help us with reminders and alerts and tracking data, but also became a part of our virtual programming by having trivia games for the seniors where they will win gifts. So that was obviously very helpful for us, and it's also very helpful for the seniors who are just looking for different ways to, get engaged throughout the pandemic. I don't think this type of technology is going anywhere. I think this is just the beginning. And it was a great learning experience for us. And we're just now looking for ways to continue this collaboration and to continue to expand upon it. What else can we do to not only prepare ourselves for an emergency, but also to continue on with this dynamic of technology is not going on anywhere. Let's prepare our older adults for the future.
Awesome. So in summary, basically, to wrap up this presentation, I just wanted to mention that this is just, I think, the beginning for engagement and improvement and connection between older adults and the caregiving organizations. We have been growing exponentially in the past year. We just actually passed a great milestone of 50,000 engagement with older adults in addition to Union Settlement, we have multiple partners across New York area that are serving thousands of older adults. And I believe we're just scratching the surface. I think this inclusive and remote care for the older adult is the future of care and aging in place. Also, a few key takeaways that I would like you to remember from the presentation today. The first one is that with the increasing aging population, the demand for supportive and community-based care is ever increasing. So investing in it and being able to facilitate it is going to be key to support healthy aging in place. Also, proactive social support and connection to these services is going to be critical for healthy aging. We need to learn from the mistakes and problems in the healthcare industry that are mainly reactive care and be more proactive, especially in the aging space. And last but not least, to connect and engage efficiently with the older adults, we need to personalize to their needs and preferences. We need to be inclusive in our communication and engagement with older adults, both in tools and content. And we need to tap into automation and technology wherever it can be helpful to us to open up the much constrained resources within these caregiving organizations for what's needed the most, which is that human-to-human interaction throughout the care, and remove some of those mundane tasks from these caregiving organizations. I'd like to again thank Aging 2.0 for this opportunity, and I would like to open it up for any questions that you might have. Thank you.